Democrats have scheduled 2 additional closed-door depositions this week as part of the impeachment inquiry into President Trump, even though the inquiry began public hearings yesterday.
According to Axios, the 2 slated for closed-door testimonies are David Holmes, an American official at the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, and Mark Sandy, an official at the Office of Management and Budget. Holmes has been scheduled to appear on Friday at 3 p.m., while Sandy is scheduled to appear on Saturday at 10 a.m. But neither of their appearances have been confirmed, and it is unclear whether they have agreed to testify. Bloomberg reported House Speaker Nancy Pelosi as saying the closed-door hearings will continue as long as they are, quote, productive, unquote, despite the first public hearing being held yesterday. House Republicans have criticized the impeachment process resolution that allowed open hearings as an attempt by Democrats to legitimize the inquiry. Trump's phone call on July 25th with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky triggered an anonymous complaint being made against the president, which eventually led to Pelosi announcing an impeachment inquiry on September 24th.
Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick released a campaign video today saying he will seek the Democratic nomination for president. He'll be entering a crowded field of candidates vying to run against President Trump in 2020.
So in a spirit of profound gratitude for all the country has given to me, and with a determination to build a better, more sustainable, more inclusive American dream for the next generation, I am today announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
63-year-old Patrick made the announcement in a YouTube video earlier today. He also posted a 2020 campaign image on Facebook. He joins nearly 20 other candidates seeking the nomination. Patrick is a Harvard-trained lawyer and 2-term former governor. He has been working as a managing director of the Boston investment firm Bain Capital and is a close ally of former President Barack Obama. His announcement comes ahead of the deadline to register in the New Hampshire primary tomorrow. And the U.S. Attorney General yesterday announced a plan to fight gun violence nationwide. William Barr said efforts to pass gun legislation in the wake of deadly mass shootings have been derailed. He blamed the lack of action on impeachment proceedings happening in Washington. Barr said the administration's 5-pronged framework will enable the government, together with state and local partners,
to fight gun crime in ways that fit the local circumstances and will leverage the power of the federal law, the federal courts, and federal agencies.
Barr made the remarks in Memphis in a crowd full of law enforcement officials. He says the proposal laid out in September will move forward now. It's called Project Guardian. Republican Governor Matt Bevin could face a legacy-defining decision when the vote totals from the Kentucky governor's race are double-checked today. He must decide whether to concede to Democrat Andy Beshear or contest last week's election, a historic move that could put the outcome in the hands of state lawmakers.
Kentucky Republicans are urging Bevin to accept the results of the Recanvass unless he has evidence of substantial voter fraud.
I don't mind at all losing by a close race, and that's the way races go. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose by close margins. As long as we're confident that the margin is a reflection of the votes that were cast.
Beshear, the state attorney general and the son of a 2-term Kentucky governor, declared victory after election results showed him in the lead by less than 0.4 percentage points. Despite Bevin's assertion that there were irregularities in the voting, he doesn't anticipate a drastically different outcome after the recanvassing.
What does or doesn't come from the recanvass, which we've said we don't anticipate there'll be any dramatic changes from that, but let's wait till we find out.
Bevin is an ally of President Donald Trump who campaigned for Bevin the night before the election. Across Kentucky, county boards of election will convene Thursday to check their voting machines and absentee ballots to verify the vote count. This will not be a recount, meaning officials will not check individual ballots.
The Department of Homeland Security yesterday proposed a list of changes to restrict how asylum seekers can get work permits. The proposal seeks to prevent people abusing the system for economic gain.
The changes would make the matter of obtaining work permits a more discretionary process and would exclude certain categories of asylum seekers from getting work permits. For other categories of asylum seekers, it would simply delay the process of getting the right to work. The department says it proposed the rule changes in order to limit fake asylum claims. The rules are not meant to affect legitimate claims, but to discourage people from abusing the system. The regulations would make it harder for those who have committed crimes from obtaining authorization, including those who crossed into the United States illegally before making their asylum claim. The department is allowing comments on the proposed changes to regulations for 60 days after the document is published in the Federal Register.
The California Public Utilities Commission voted to open an investigation into power outages that blacked out large parts of the state for much of October.
Pacific Gas, an electric company, initiated 5 rounds of shutoffs, with the smallest leaving 30,000 people without power and the largest affecting nearly 2.5 million. Some of the outages lasted for several days. Company officials insisted on the Public Safety Power Shutoffs, or PSPS, as strong winds sparked fears of wildfires.
The frequency and scope of the PSPS events of 2019 impacted communities and in a profound way.
The decision to investigate came after hearing from the public on the many hardships the blackouts caused for residents.
I've had friends come to me who lost substantial sums of money due to the power outages.
The blackouts raised concerns about whether the utility company properly balanced the need to provide reliable service with public safety, and if the outages were properly planned and executed.
People were not only without power, but they were also without water, they were without sewage, they were without being able to make any phone calls or receive code red, they couldn't even make a 911 call. We were literally sent back into the dark ages.
The company's already in bankruptcy after its equipment was found to have started several deadly wildfires in 2017 and 2018.
TSA predicts this Thanksgiving season will be the single busiest travel day for the U.S. airline industry.
The Sunday after Thanksgiving, December the 1st, is expected to be the single busiest travel day ever for the U.S. airline industry, with 3.1 million passengers flying on U.S. airlines. Daily volumes will range from 1.7 million on Thanksgiving Day to 3.1 million on Sunday, December the 1st. We'll carry an average of 2.63 million per day, passengers per day, over that 12-day forecast period.
The busiest days across the country's 440 airports will be from November 27th to December 1st. The agency warned travelers to brace for another record-setting holiday travel season. And U.S. congressmen are doubling their efforts to push for a vote on the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act. One of the sponsors said significant progress was made yesterday toward getting the bill passed.
We've been working very hard on the piece of work. We really believe we have consensus today, and I think you're going to see movement on it very quickly within the next week or so.
Senator Jim Risch, the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said shortly after a meeting with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on Wednesday. The Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act has gained rare bipartisan support. More than 1/3 of the Senate has signed on to the bill. The legislation would place economic sanctions on individuals deemed to have violated the terms of Hong Kong autonomy from mainland China. Elliot Engel, the chairman on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, echoing Risch's sentiment.
We're going to continue to fight and in the Senate, and we hope that the Senate will follow what we've done in the House and pass the bill. I was very pleased to be a sponsor of that bill, a co-sponsor of that bill with our Speaker. I was very happy to have that bill go through my committee, and we'll always stand with the people of Hong Kong.
Senator Marco Rubio, sponsor of the bill, said very significant progress had been made.
We want you to know that your cause will continue to be our cause. We will continue to speak out. We will not allow the world to ignore or forget what you are doing and what it is that you are working on behalf of. I want to thank you for all you've done to inspire us. Please know we're with you every step of the way.
Rubio also warned that any further Chinese action to curtail Hong Kong's autonomy would risk censure by the U.S. in a statement he released with Democrat Jim McGovern. Both are co-chairs of the Congressional Executive Commission on China, which monitors human rights and the rule of law in China.
Pro-democracy protesters paralyzed parts of Hong Kong for a 4th day today, forcing schools to close and blocking highways as students build barricades, setting the stage for campus showdowns.
Student protesters at Hong Kong Polytechnic University created roadblocks and walls, hoping it would prevent police from entering the campus.
Many universities are being attacked, so that's why we are worried. We have to be fully prepared, or somehow we can go out and support other universities. But because this is what university students, as a tertiary students in Hong Kong, are protecting and trying to do.
Actually, what they are going to do with the emergency law is to stop us from protesting to them. But we have to do it because we need our 5 demands to be fulfilled.
Thousands of students have hunkered down inside several campuses, surrounded by piles of food and bricks. Around 30 mainland Chinese and foreign students at Hong Kong Baptist University were seen dragging their luggage to leave for the airport. At the Chinese University of Hong Kong, CUHK, multiple people were injured in clashes with riot police on Tuesday. With campuses turned into blazing battlegrounds, Hong Kong's Education Bureau said all schools would shut down on Thursday. Several universities said they would be starting online lessons for the remaining weeks of the term. China's state-run Global Times tabloid said in a deleted tweet that the Hong Kong government is expected to announce a weekend curfew to quell the violence. A Global Times editor said it was deleted because there was not sufficient information to back it up.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff reaffirmed today that the United States is ready to use the full range of its capabilities to defend South Korea.
Senior U.S. defense officials are gathering in Seoul for annual meetings as the two countries face intensifying threats from North Korea. President Trump has insisted that Seoul take on a greater share of the cost of hosting U.S. troops. Over 28,000 U.S. soldiers are stationed in South Korea as a deterrent against North Korea. Washington is also urging Seoul to reconsider its decision to scrap its intelligence sharing pact with Japan. U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said on Wednesday that the loss of the pact only serves to benefit North Korea and China. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Mark Milley attended a dinner on Thursday where South Korea's defense minister pledged his commitment to denuclearize North Korea.
Although recent security circumstances are rapidly changing, the government and the military are making utmost efforts to denuclearize North Korea and establish lasting peace on the Korean peninsula.
North Korea opposes U.S. and South Korean joint military drills. North Korea's State Affairs Commission said in a rare statement on Wednesday that North Korea would retaliate if scheduled drills go ahead.
Up next, China officially lifts restrictions on poultry imported from the U.S., ending an almost 5-year ban. The decision comes after similar poultry import policy changes from the U.S. The decision is good news for U.S. farmers. More on what it means for the U.S.-China trade war when we return.
This is extremely gutsy. The Chinese Communist Party is not known for taking criticism very well.
The police have blocked off the streets and been firing tear gas and beanbag rounds at the protesters, and they've made several arrests.
警方呢是一直进行了一些推进，并且呢是多次舉起黑旗和橙旗呢，去發射了很多的催淚彈。
即係佢哋放催淚彈嗰時，嘭咁撞到個肚㗎。咁咧就我而家翻轉頭咧見到個咁嘅嘢，因為嗰時兵荒馬亂咧，我就。
That's the media liaison. They're telling us that we need to get out of here. They're telling the press to leave.
Boy, this tear gas is getting pretty strong.
Today, China lifted restrictions on the import of poultry meat from the United States. Its customs said it is effective immediately.
Due to an avian influenza outbreak, China had banned all U.S. poultry and eggs since January 2015. The plan to lift the nearly 5-year ban was announced by China's Commerce Ministry in late October, but publishing it on its customs website is formal recognition of the change. Last week, the U.S. Food Safety and Inspection Service amended its Federal Register to approve imports of poultry products derived from birds slaughtered in China. The poultry approvals by each side come during ongoing negotiations between the countries to resolve a 16-month-long trade war in which each has slapped tariffs on billions of dollars worth of each other's goods. Improving access for U.S. farm produce in the Chinese market has been a critical part of the negotiations, with removal of non-tariff barriers seen as key to reaching Trump's goal of doubling agricultural sales to China.
2 people from Inner Mongolia and China are being treated for the plague. Chinese state media report that a hospital in Beijing has confirmed the cases.
This is the second time the disease has been detected in the region. In May, a Mongolian couple died from bubonic plague. They had eaten the raw kidney of a marmot as a folk health remedy. According to the Chinese regime's state media Xinhua, the 2 recent patients were diagnosed with pneumonic plague. The pneumonic plague is the most virulent and damaging of the different types of plague. In the Middle Ages, the plague killed around 50 million people in Europe. It's caused by bacteria and transmitted through flea bites and infected animals. The hospital where the patients were being treated said in a statement that, quote, "Everything is under control," unquote. When a China-based media asked for details, it refused to disclose the patient's situation. Some members of the public are questioning why the patient's condition is being concealed. When there is a major public crisis in China, just like SARS in the past, when the first case appeared, officials repressed it, and then the second case happened, and officials repressed it again. After the small-scale outbreak, officials were still thinking about ways to repress it, until in the end, when it couldn't be covered up anymore, only then did they make it public. According to the World Health Organization, if left untreated, the disease is always fatal.
Up next, Bolivia's interim president swears in new ministers and promises to deliver order and democratic institutions. These are the first few steps away from Bolivia's former socialist regime. More on Bolivia's new direction after the break.
When you look at TV networks in America, a soundbite and fight-it-out culture prevails on news and commentary programs. As a Canadian, I'm fascinated with America, and I wanted to offer American thought leaders an opportunity to share their thoughts in a deep dive format, where we can explore their ideas together. And so American Thought Leaders was born. The world's most brilliant thinkers believed that open discourse was the key to greatness. However, all around the world, we see that discourse is being stifled, and political agendas have subverted media. The Epoch Times launched its Global Thought Leaders program to bring back this great tradition of free thought. As the host of American Thought Leaders, every week I interview some of the most intriguing minds on the most pressing issues of our time. Be sure to check out our new episodes every week.
The lasting beauty of traditional oil painting. Realistic style. Brilliant. Moving. Expressive. 2019 NTD Television International Competition for Figure Painting in Oil. Guided by truthfulness, kindness, and beauty. We invite you to join us on our journey back to traditional art. Gold Prize Award of $10,000. For more detail, please visit oilpainting.ntdtv.com.
Bolivia's new interim president swore new government ministers yesterday. She said that Bolivia must stop going round in circles and return to democratic institutions.
Senate Vice President Janine Áñez took up the post of interim president of Bolivia on Tuesday. She said she intends to bring order and stability back to Bolivia. Áñez set to work on Wednesday, filling 11 cabinet posts. Bolivia can't keep on going around in a circle. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here with courage, with patriotic spirit, and a willingness to face this difficult challenge of returning our homeland to democratic institutions. Ex-President Evo Morales resigned last week and fled to Mexico. He was pushed out amid public anger and protests that accused him of manipulating the recent elections. Inez says she will bring about a change in what was formerly socialist rule in Bolivia. The interim president has pledged to hold a new election as soon as possible. In a message to Bolivia's young people, she tweeted, "God bless you and allow us to be free and to hold transparent elections soon." President Trump welcomed the changes in a statement earlier this week. Morales' departure preserves democracy and paves the way for the Bolivian people to have their voices heard. Battles broke out in the streets of La Paz on Wednesday as Morales supporters contest the leadership of Bolivia's new interim president.
Tourists took selfies and posed for pictures when they visited flooded St. Mark's Square in Venice today, 2 days after high tide flooded its basilica, submerged its squares, and inundated its historic palaces. The city's huge St. Mark's Square was once described as Europe's living room. On Tuesday, it became submerged in more than 1 meter of water. The adjacent St. Mark's Basilica was flooded for the 6th time in 1,200 years, but the 4th time in the last 20 years. More than 80% of Venice was underwater when the tide was at its highest. Although levels had receded by daybreak, further bad weather was expected, and a series of storms lined up to batter Italy. Up next, country music stars take the stage for the 2019 CMA Awards. Blake Shelton took home the award for Single of the Year. Country legend Carrie Underwood hosted this year's show alongside Dolly Parton and Reba McEntire. More on the show's big winners after the break.
This season, take an incredible journey through 5,000 years of culture with Shen Yun. Discover why people are calling Shen Yun a visual feast, a pleasure to the ear, an epic tale, a must-see. Shen Yun, an all-new production every year.
The biggest stars in country music took to the stage last night for the 53rd annual CMA Awards.
And the CMA Award for Single of the Year goes to...
Open it.
God's Country, Blake Shelton!
For the first award of the night, Blake Shelton took to the stage, winning Single of the Year for God's Country.
Thank you, country music. Thank you to the fans.
Album of the Year went to Maren Morris. And Entertainer of the Year went to Garth Brooks. Other winners included Casey Musgraves, Luke Combs, and vocal group Old Dominion. Carrie Underwood once again hosted this year's ceremony, along with country icons Dolly Parton and Reba McEntire.
The cast and crew of Star Wars The Mandalorian turned out in Hollywood last night. The red carpet release comes alongside its on-demand launch on Tuesday via Disney+, Disney's new streaming service.
The cast and crew attended the show's debut in Hollywood last night.
Well, the reactions, anybody who's ever heard this thing is being done, they can't wait. That's number one. And being a part of just the Disney kind of universe, that in and of itself is pretty cool.
During the first episode's premiere, a cute new character captured fans' attention, Baby Yoda.
It's a very interesting character that you have to see the shows to kind of figure out what this Baby Yoda really is and what he's all about, or even if he's really a Baby Yoda. He has his own name, and he's very interesting and very knowledgeable and very cute. I mean, he really is. I never use that word, but he's a cute little guy.
The new Star Wars series holds appeal for both superfans and newcomers to the franchise. The release was a smash success and helped draw in over 10 million new Disney Plus subscribers on day one.
People seem to be really excited by it. You know, a lot of people signed up. There was a lot of anticipation. It's the first time a Star Wars live-action series has been available. And Star Wars really lends itself to the serialized form. It was inspired in part originally for George Lucas by films like Flash Gordon.
The show's pilot is available now on Disney+. The second episode is set to release on Friday, followed by one installment each Friday after that.
And that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in. Join us again tonight. I'm Tiffany Meyer.